What's up, guys? Today I've got 5 hot takes for you. These are very controversial opinions that I have about fitness and strength training. Each one will get progressively more controversial, but stick around till the end because I've got an additional take that's gonna knock your socks off. So really, you're getting 6 opinions here that nobody asked for. But I guarantee I'm gonna say something that you're gonna disagree with, so let's fight down in the comments below. The first hot take is this. Don't want to show the brand because I've already been accused of promoting Alani's because sometimes I drink them in the beginning of the video. But this is a different brand. You can probably already tell because I'm showing it a little bit. But here's my first controversial take is I don't think energy drinks are that bad for you. And what I mean is I don't think anybody should start drinking them if you're not already. I don't think teenagers should drink them for obvious reasons. There's already been some news articles about teens that have suffered health consequences from drinking like 6 or more Alani's a day, which I find absolutely nuts. But I think like anything, in moderation, these things are okay. And some guy was fighting me in my comments a couple days ago, and he was saying like, first off, Alani's are really terrible for you. They've got cyanide in them. It's such a negligible amount. And his argument was, oh, well, over time, these toxins build up in your body. And that's just not true, right? Like that's anatomy 101 is we have kidneys and a whole digestive tract to like flush out these things that our body doesn't use, especially in these micro amounts. And if you do the math, you would die from water toxicity or probably caffeine intake way before you'd have enough of these microtoxins. And they don't build up in your body. So if you drink 2 energy drinks a day, which, I drink 1, but if you drink even 3, your kidneys are flushing out all these toxins that you are terrified of. That's what kidneys do. They don't just keep building up over time until, your body decays, right? So I don't know. Like, I think in moderation, energy drinks are probably fine. They're probably net neutral when you drink 1 a day around noon so it doesn't disrupt your sleep later. I think caffeine is the biggest thing you have to worry about in terms of like sleep deprivation and whatnot. So until then, I'm gonna enjoy mine. Hot take number 2 is you probably don't have low testosterone. Most guys, and I really don't want to come after people that I know that are on testosterone replacement therapy, but most guys probably don't have low test. And I get a lot of these symptoms too, and I wonder, like, do I have low test? I have high fatigue, high stress, I'm tired all the time, I don't feel motivated, stuff like that. And it's easy to say like, oh, I have low testosterone and that's why I feel that way. But if you're not looking at all of the really simple things that can boost your testosterone, like eating good food, getting a good night's rest, and managing your stress and working out, if you're not doing those things, how can you definitively say you have low testosterone? Because to me, having low testosterone is often more of the symptom of your lifestyle rather than the cause. So if you're not addressing those things, you're putting the cart before the horse. And here's the thing, right? Is like sometimes I've wondered like, oh, do I have low testosterone? And so then I start asking myself questions. But I'm also in the gym 4 days a week, squatting over 600 pounds, deadlifting over 600 pounds, benching over 400 pounds. I think if I'm able to do that, right, even though I'm not like ultra chad and chiseled and I don't feel like I did when I was 18, I probably don't have low testosterone. Then that's what I mean. I have friends, and this really isn't a call out because, you only live one life. And if that's something you want to do, please feel free. But like if you're in the gym and you're squatting 600 pounds, you probably don't have like a clinical low amount of testosterone, right? And I think aging happens naturally. Like I turned 31 in a couple months. I don't feel like I did when I was 18, and I don't think I'm supposed to. Aging is a natural thing. Aging isn't a disease. You're not gonna feel 20 when you're 40. So stop comparing yourself to that old version of yourself that was going through puberty and all that. Not to mention the risk about it. And I've watched a lot of videos and listened to podcasts about, testosterone replacement therapy. And one of the reasons I choose your Remain Natural is because, like it thickens the blood and increases your risk of stroke. And I have heart issues in my family, and that's just not a risk I'm willing to take. And so like I said, I understand people that take the mindset of you only live once, so you might as well like enjoy it and feel good and whatever. I'm like, I get that. Like, this is not judging you at all if you are on testosterone replacement therapy. But my counter argument to that is you live every day, but you only die once. And I don't want to die prematurely because I decided I wanted to feel like I did when I was 18. When I know there are other steps I can take, like, yeah, I could lose a lot of weight. I could, maybe drink less energy drinks. I could eat better food. I could manage my stress better. I could go to sleep better. And all those things will probably make me feel better in the long term rather than hopping on more testosterone. I was listening to the Iron Culture podcast and they were saying, like, I don't quote me on this, something like 80% of people that hop on TRT hop off of it within 2 years. I wonder why. Take number 3 is, if it's there, take it. What I mean is, when you're in the gym and you feel like a PR is coming, and maybe you're not even scheduling that PR, I think you should go for it, right? Go off program, do what you need to do. Some people follow programs that they either write themselves or maybe they're paying for them. They follow them so strictly that they accidentally train scared. They never test anything. I can't tell you how many times I've hit a PR throughout the year because I was in the middle of a training block, but I was like, for whatever reason, it's there. Everything feels great. I'm having all these green lights. My stress is good. The sets aren't very fatiguing. My heavy singles are flying up. And I'm like, you know what? Then I ask myself the question, what's the cost of going for a PR today? If it's low cost, like I don't have a meet coming up, or I'm willing to take that fatigue cost, then yeah, I say go for it. That doesn't mean max out every week. That doesn't mean test your PR every time you're in the gym. That's poor fatigue and load management. That's basically how I hit 700 pounds on squat again the other day. I was expecting to hit about 635, and that would be my top end. But I had buddies egging me on a little bit, and they're like, or load 650. I was like, all right, what's the big deal? And I haven't loaded anything more than 650 in years, and it flew up, and that gave me a lot of confidence. And I was like, I actually feel like I could hit 672. And so I did that. Now that flew up, and I was like, I want to practice my own principles. I could hit 700 here. And if I do, the benefits are going to outweigh the costs. Like, yeah, there's going to be a fatigue cost. I haven't felt good all week since I hit that 700 because it killed my central nervous system this week. But it gave me so much more confidence getting back into the higher 600s. I haven't touched that kind of weight in years, and 700 moved way better on a stiff bar than it did years ago for me before on the squat bar. So I guess what I'm saying is go for it. And one of the risks is if you don't go for it and you wait until the end of your program and you do everything right and you deload and then you go for your PR and then you don't hit it, you could chalk up your whole training block to feeling like wasted time. And it might have just not been there that day. And I can't tell you how many times I've hit a PR just for me to realize that I've been under training. So now I can bring all my working sets up a little bit, and it gives me more confidence to do so. And this is the controversial take that I think that most coaches would disagree with me on, but that's how I coach, actually, is this principle of Carpe Diem. If it's there and the risk is negligible or manageable, seize the moment. The fourth hill I'm willing to die on is I don't think form matters that much in terms of injury prevention. I don't think your form matters for injury prevention at all, actually, but maybe that's a take for another time. And I care about form. I really do. But I care about form for mechanical efficiency, for consistency, and for a competition standard if you're in the sport of powerlifting. I do not care about form in the way that I think a rounded back deadlift is going to break your spine, or a behind the neck press is going to impinge your shoulder. I actually have a whole 40-minute long video on this that I'll link, but I don't expect you to go watch that. Please do. I spent a lot of time on it. So I'm not going to beat this hill to death, but the short version is risk in the gym is a lot more complicated than it looks dangerous. Risk is a function of subjective readiness, load, fatigue, complexity, familiarity, and skill. A Cirque du Soleil performer would do things, and they does things every single day that would put me in the hospital. But it's hard for me to say what they're doing is inherently dangerous when I could pick up my couch right now and hurt my back as well. Or if they loaded 350 pounds on bench, they might hurt themselves. They built the skill, the technique that they need to do. That's why I use what I call the pool noodle test. So what I mean is, If you can do any kind of movement in the gym with a pool noodle, then the movement is safe, or an empty bar, right? If you can do it safely with an empty bar, I think the movement itself is safe. You can move the weight from point A to point B safely, even with bad form. But, you know, if I try to bench with an empty bar, I'm going to be fine. If I try to bench with 400 pounds, I know I'm going to be fine. If I load up 500 on any given day, I'm not going to be fine, even if I use the exact same form. So to me, the difference isn't whether my form was good or bad. The difference was the weight on the bar or the volume. You know, like, yeah, I can bench 225 for 10 reps, right? I can't do it for 100 reps in one go. That would be a bad fatigue and load management. So what's the difference? It's not my technique. It's the bad technique is a symptom of my poor fatigue and load management. But like I said, I think form is really important in the context of powerlifting for that it's repeatable. It makes you efficient in the movement. But just because one guy has a rounded back deadlift and another guy doesn't, I don't think one is safer than the other. My fifth hill that I'm willing to die on is, unless you compete in powerlifting, I don't think you need to do squat, bench, and deadlift with a barbell. And I say that as a powerlifter who loves SBD, squat, bench, and deadlift. I do it every week. I've done it every week for years. I've built a huge chunk of my life around these lifts, but they're not magical. They are competition specific movements for a very specific sport. For instance, if I was in bodybuilding, like, yeah, I'd probably still train with a barbell, but I'd spend a lot more of my time on machines and doing pendulum squats and hack squats and, you know, Smith machine split squats than I would practicing my low bar squat with a barbell. If I was training purely for chest growth, I'd be doing a lot more Smith machine incline presses and, you know, all sorts of stuff. And if I was training for general health or bodybuilding, I probably wouldn't be deadlifting 500-600 pounds. I might deadlift because I do think it's a good exercise, but I would do like slow controlled Romanian deadlifts. I don't do any of those right now, but if I didn't care about powerlifting, I'd probably replace heavy singles with, you know, a more controlled Romanian deadlift. And I also hate the term functional. And a lot of people say like, oh, strongman's more functional than powerlifting. I mean, I agree. I don't think powerlifting is a functional sport. I love being strong. I love being able to say that I can squat 700, deadlift 700, bench almost 500. That's cool, and I'm proud of that, but I don't think it necessarily improves my quality of life that much. It doesn't translate that well to real life strength compared to somebody that just goes to the gym, right? Whether you're a competitive powerlifter or a bodybuilder or somebody that does CrossFit, or somebody that just goes to the gym 3 days a week, as long as you're like able to help your buddy move a couch, pick up your children in your arm, load something into a truck, hike with a backpack. If I just want to be useful in normal life, I don't need an elite powerlifting total and to do heavy squat, bench, and deadlift. I do think you need to do those movements in general, right? But it doesn't have to be like a flat bench. It doesn't have to be a competition squat, and it doesn't have to be, you know, heavy deadlifts. I also think chasing functional exercises is a trap for any sport, and I won't go down that rabbit hole because most gym movements just don't perfectly simulate real life. You know, some people say, oh, well, strongman's more functional. I'm like, when's the last time you had to carry, you know, this weird shield thing for 100 meters or whatever it is? Unless you're a competitive powerlifter, don't put squat, bench, and deadlift on a pedestal that they don't deserve. I think they're great movements. They can build a ton of strength and muscle, and they're easy to figure out and practice. And you can do them in any gym, which is great. But unless you compete in powerlifting, they're optional. This was supposed to be 5 takes, but I've got my bonus 6th take here, and I think it's my best one. I don't think obsession is the answer. I don't think obsession makes you better. I think obsessing about something like gym and powerlifting and watching those, you know, masculinity TikToks, I think that's a tool, but it shouldn't be your identity. People think greatness takes Rocky Balboa levels of obsession. And don't get me wrong, to be great, you have to care. You have to train hard. You have to sacrifice 100%. There's no version of becoming an elite powerlifter where it's like easy and doesn't take any effort. But I think a lot of fitness influencers and intermediate lifters confuse seriousness with being edgy as hell. I don't like these edgy fitness personas. They act like if you bring your girlfriend to the gym that you're not serious about this. Or if you eat something besides chicken, rice, and broccoli that you're not serious. Or if you have hobbies, friends. I mean, some people take it so far where they say like you have to, never go out, only surround yourself with people in the gym. Don't have friends. Relationships hold you back. Your job's gonna hold you back. But some of the strongest people I know, people with world records, don't walk around like they are tortured anime villains. They train hard and they train consistently, and they rest well, they sleep good, they eat well, but then they win a competition and then they go home and live their life. Even Rocky Balboa had a wife, he had children, he had a life outside of boxing. All we see in the movie is the montage, and we think that's the whole story when it's just the highlight reel. The people who stick with powerlifting for 10, 20, 30 years, they're not the ones that shut out every other part of their life. They're the ones that figured out how to make training a serious part of their life without sacrificing everything else or belittling everything else. If you want to do this long term, you actually do need a balanced lifestyle. The problem with obsession is that it works until it doesn't. It can get you through a hard block when life really sucks. But if the gym or fitness or powerlifting becomes your entire personality, your entire identity, I think that's a bad thing. Because what happens when you do get hurt? What happens when life does get busy? What happens when progress slows down and is frustrating? What happens when you're not the strongest guy in the gym anymore? A lot of lifters quit because lifting became the only way that they felt valuable in their life. So I would say it's not bad to be obsessed, but don't glorify it. I want you to care to train hard enough, care enough to be consistent, and care enough to make the right sacrifices, but don't make lifting the only thing in your life that brings you meaning and value. Those were my fitness hot takes, guys. This was a really fun video to make. If you disagree with anything, please leave it down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this and you enjoy my content, I make a lot of bench press content that people seem to like. So please give me a subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And if you're interested in coaching, I'll have a link down below, or you can just DM me on Instagram at meathead.matt. Thanks for the watch, guys. Have a great day.